think you should.
What is up, guys? Lone Hawk here today, and welcome back to Overwatch. Along with the new Lunar Colony map, there's been some other changes added to the game, most notably Reaper and McCree buffs, which I am personally extremely excited for because those are two of my favorite heroes to be playing. Roadhog has also been adjusted. Can't really tell if they're buffs or nerfs just yet, so let's go over all three of these heroes and talk about their changes and if they're going to be good for the game or not. First up on the list, Reaper. The Reaping, which is his passive, has been changed. The health orbs that enemies used to drop have been entirely removed in favor of 20% lifesteal, which means 20% of the damage he deals, he regains as health. And this, I imagine, includes his ultimate, because it just says 20% of all damage done to heroes, which means Reaper's ultimate is going to be quite powerful. If you're hitting multiple enemies at once with that very high damage ability, it's going to be hard to take him down unless you have a high amount of burst damage, like a Widowmaker who lands a headshot or a Roadhog with his hook. Anything short, and you might not be able to kill him. I feel like that ultimate alone, with a good Reaper, can just wreak havoc, which may force the enemy team into running a different hero. Maybe a D.Va to just eat it all up, a Roadhog or a McCree to stop the ultimate, or just something that can insta-kill him like Widowmaker, although that one isn't as easy. I also think we might see the return of nano boosting Reaper. It'll take a little more coordination than before because Lucio's speed boost isn't as big of a range anymore, but I think when you nano boost a Reaper and he is using his Death Blossom, he's gonna be extremely hard to kill. He's got damage reduction on top of lifesteal, which is being increased because he's dealing more damage as well. That's going to be a pretty devastating combo, and I feel like this actually may warrant running D.Va again. D.Va may be a must pick against a Reaper because she just eats all that up, which is interesting because now I feel like with the changes, outside of his ultimate, Reaper can deal with D.Va a lot more effectively. D.Va pokes for a very low amount of HP. Up close, it's a little more, but Reaper should be able to 1v1 D.Va with ease now. The fact that he's stealing life the entire time and he doesn't need to get her out of mech and kill her to gain any HP back, that's going to be massive for Reaper. He is truly going to shine against tanks like he should. However, after seeing these changes, they're not that great against squishier targets. When you're not fighting a tank, the difference is marginal. It's a little better than before, I think, but honestly, in 1v1s, it's not going to help you that much. The amount of life you steal isn't really significant enough to warrant you like winning a fight you used to not win. It's really hard to, it depends on the enemy you're fighting, but honestly, when you're not against tanks, Reaper's not that much better, so I'd really only use him against heavy tank compositions. And if you're really having a problem with him, like you're on the other team, all you really need is a source of burst damage, and he's dead. It's not really too hard to deal with Reaper. One of these sources of burst damage is Roadhog, who now has been changed. We'll talk about McCree after him, but I feel like this segues nicely, because Roadhog is now going to have a harder time one-shotting Reaper. Roadhog's damage has been decreased by 33%, his fire rate has been increased to compensate for this, and he's been given an extra magazine, or, you know, extra piece of scrap in his gun so he can shoot 5 shots instead of 4. And on top of this, his head hitbox size has been reduced by 20%. In theory, his gun should still be able to one-shot Reaper, but in the midst of battle, your crosshair may not be exactly on Reaper's head and upper body, and there's a greater chance now that you don't kill him with a hook headshot melee attack. I know it's crazy, but Reaper has 250 health, and your damage was decreased by 33%. And we already saw Hog, you know, sometimes just not being able to one-shot people. It doesn't happen as often anymore, but it still happens. With this reduced damage on a higher HP squishy target, that's not the best thing. You know, if Reaper survives that, there's a good chance Reaper wins the duel now, because Reaper just 2 shots to Roadhog's head and he's going to be up a ton of HP. Roadhog should still win that duel most of the time, but now there are more situations where Reaper can come out on top, and Reaper kind of needed that because he seemed to be outclassed in many situations. As far as Reaper and Hog go, I think Reaper is now at least a niche pick, maybe even better, depending on how much this lifesteal ends up affecting the gameplay, and I think Hog is going to be Hog. He can still one-shot most of the heroes in the game, so it's still going to be, you know, Roadhog. nothing really has changed. His DPS is actually about the same as it used to. It's just that he shoots faster and has less damage, and he also has that extra one shot in the magazine. So overall DPS is the same, you just can't one-shot tanks anymore. You can't one-shot Zarya like you used to be able to. It's going to be harder, if not impossible, to one-shot Winston, which you could do. You could do it, and Reinhardt plus Orisa, they should both survive the hook shot melee combo with no problem, so that will be a nice balance change. Roadhog is now a squishy killer and a consistent-ish damage dealer rather than a burst kill anything that I hook thing. Now, let's talk about the McCree buffs, my personal favorite buffs this patch. So, everyone knew that Deadeye was kind of trash. It was total garbage, but now it's been significantly buffed. So targets will begin locking after 0.2 seconds only. So you hit Q and in 0.2 seconds you're already locking targets. It used to be 0.8 seconds. That's almost an entire second. So now you're gaining 0.6 seconds of lock-on time. But get this, the first 1 second of locking has been increased to deal 4 times the amount of damage, essentially. So instead of locking for 20 damage per second, it's 80. That's just for the first second. After that, it locks at the same pace it used to. This should be a significant increase in the amount of, people McCree can kill. Deadeye is now like a rapid take out a few squishies ability, not like lock on, wait 10 years and try to take down a tank. The initial burst, I guess lock you can call it, the first few seconds after you hit Q are going to be way faster and lock on and deal a lot more damage than they used to. You should be able to whip out Deadeye, wait a short amount of time, and then kill maybe 2 enemy heroes that aren't tanks if they're not behind a shield, which is pretty good. You can swing a fight much faster now, and if you have a D.Va or a Reinhardt on your team, all you need is for them to cover you for like a short period of time before you have to get the kill. You don't need them to like sit in front of you for the whole, few seconds of Deadeye just to get a kill. No, you just use it much faster. It's the faster paced ultimate, which is great because Overwatch is a pretty fast paced game. I'd be willing to say this might bring McCree slightly at least back into the meta. It separates him from Soldier a lot better. Soldier's ultimate is consistent, accurate damage for a few seconds. McCree's ultimate now is just like a whip it out, take a few people out, and then put it away and keep going. That's pretty different than the way they both used to be. The old Deadeye, you have to wait even longer than Soldier 76's ultimate just to get half the amount of kills, if you even lived through it. The new one, very fast-paced, very aggressive, and you can probably catch a lot of people off guard with it, even. Tell me what you guys think down below. I'll try to get some gameplay up on the channel soon. That way you can see how these changes actually perform live. And if you're interested, check out my other video about what you missed in the Horizon Lunar Colony map trailer. There's some little pieces of lore that you might have not noticed when you watched it through the first time. I just kind of explain them out for you and tell you that everything isn't what it seems. I'll see you guys all later. Have a good one. Lone Hawk out.